What is up, the wonderful people of YouTube? I've got an actual plan for what I'm going to talk about today. Normally I sort of just go into the gym and I have a session and I talk about what comes up when it comes up. But for me, over the past year to 2 years, my training has changed drastically. And I feel like I've learned a few things that I can actually talk about and I wish to share with people because, I trained for 4 years like a bit of an idiot. A bit of an idiot. Just training really high volume, not really with any intent, sort of just training because I enjoyed training. To be honest, I think that you kind of need that at the start of your lifting journey. You need to experiment a little bit, just fall in love with the act of going to the gym, the act of training, the specific movements that you like. Try different things out and build up some skills, and then you can just refine those things. The main thing is learning to train hard. Like when you go into the gym, everyone sort of starts going just to go. I need to start getting into shape. I'll go to the gym, and then it just becomes routine of going to the gym. And that's a great baseline. But if you're someone that is still at that point where you're like, okay, I'm fine just going to the gym. Like just going to the gym is enough. You're not going to build a physique that you're particularly happy with, or that you're probably deserving of if you're putting all the time into going anyway. So here are a few things that take your training up a level, I suppose. An easy one to start off with is just reducing the amount of overall sets that you're doing. So a lot of people that start, they'll go on Instagram, they'll see 4 sets of 12 to 15 of 10 to 15 exercises a session. That is way too much. It's just not going to be effective either physically or mentally. Getting yourself ready to do 30 odd sets or 50 odd sets in a session, depending on what program you've started to follow, is going to cause some anguish. So cut it down. It doesn't have to be a top and a back off set, but I like a top and a back off set. But to be honest, 2 sets is enough. In terms of, you can train really hard, you can progress, and you'll see changes, and just focus on being a little bit more accurate about your training. I used to sort of go in and I'd go, okay, today I'm gonna go on the bench, I'll do a 4x12, and you end up just sort of doing 4 sets of whatever. There's no real intent behind it in terms of what you did last week and really trying to progress it forward. So having 2 sets, I'll know exactly what I hit last week on my first set, what I hit my second set. And if I'm going to split those 2 weights into 2 separate rep ranges, it's really easy for me to run up some progressions. So that's fundamentally the main thing that changed for me, and was a big turning point in my training, and really allowed me to get excited about progression, as opposed to just get excited about going to the gym and occasionally just trying to hit 1 rep max. And by occasionally, I mean pretty much every week on a bench press. So yeah, fun times. Honestly, they are the really fun times of training, especially if you have a training partner and you go through that sort of journey together. But yeah, there's really no need to do that, and just training a little bit more effectively. But you have to have a set routine, so it doesn't have to be every day or like the same days every week. A lot of people do rolling workouts and sort of rolling programs, but I always enjoy going in and say, Monday I've got pull and legs, next Monday I'll have pull and legs. Super dead easy to understand what factors will contribute to you having a good and a bad session. And then it's really easy to just continue to focus on that progression week in, week out. And I sort of enjoy having that structure in my day and in my weeks. So that works for me. But you might be a little bit more fluid and enjoy having different things on different days and just sort of running with it. But having set structure is vital, and you can have a bit of fluidity in that structure. I think that your compound should primarily stay the same for as long as possible, but I'll talk about that later. And then you can have a little bit more free reign in terms of exercises you do. Say like one day you do a dumbbell preacher curl, the next week you go do a cable preacher curl, then you find a machine preacher curl that you like all of them are going to provide very similar stimulus. And for me, in terms of like really dialing in on my progression, I'd rather not do that. But at the same time, when it's something as simple as biceps, stimulus is gonna win on that regard, and potentially be even better for you, because you're not going to see massive progression in a dumbbell curl or any form of curl in the same way that you might see on a leg press or a hack squat. So you're going to see much more marginal gains over the long period of time. So potentially having a little bit more leniency with that will be good. But yeah, that's enough talking for the start of this. This is something that is very particular to me. I'm not sure whether anyone else will sort of feel this way. So let me know down below. And while you're down there, like, comment, subscribe. I like getting in the routine of wearing the same stuff each week for each session. It's really weird. Like, I almost create like a superstition of it feeling good and what I'm wearing dictating sort of how I feel and how the session is going to go. It's very, very weird way of approaching it, but yeah, that's sort of something that I've done, and I've worn the same hoodie and joggers for 6, 7, 8 weeks now, and I'm wearing a different hoodie today. So I'm going to see if my superstition is correct, and I'll see if I have a decent session. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I always believe in like how you feel going into certain things is how you're going to behave, and how it's going to go. So if you're feeling good, you feel good in what you wear and how you feel about yourself, you're going to have a better session than if you feel rubbish and you think, oh, I look like doggy doo and all this. So instead of that, going in and just feeling a bit confident about yourself is pretty important, I think. But that's a bit of a tangent. I'll get back on topic when I'm at the gym, talking about specifics of how to get more out of your training, and sort of how I took myself from here 2 years ago to here now. And obviously diet's changed, coaching's changed, lots of different things have changed, but I think that one of the biggest things has definitely been my training and how I've approached my training, because especially when it comes to sort of legs, I think I've just seen a complete sort of overhaul in how I approach things, and I've really seen some benefits off that. So hopefully I can eloquently translate my thoughts and feelings to you through this medium of media. Yeah, I'll catch you at the gym. So I had intended for this to be like a talk through while I was at the gym, but the microphone was sounding a bit funky. I also sort of stopped talking halfway through the session. Definitely at that point in prep where I have to be very focused about where my energy is going, and it gets to a point in the session where you have to really commit to 100% being focused in there. So in terms of informative content during sessions, it might be a little bit more limited now, especially because I don't know, I love training and I want to make the most out of each session. So yeah, I thought, hey, why not just do one of these like little corner voiceover type style videos. I'll continue talking about what I do to sort of optimize my sessions. So the first thing is actually getting myself in the right headspace. So both physically and mentally prepare myself for the session. So I look different to different people. I love getting 5 minutes on the treadmill, get my body moving. I feel like the transition from work or being at home to actually training, and then get some mobility work done, especially when it comes to leg days. I think it's massive. My hips are rubbish, so I spend a lot of time trying to open my hips up and get a little bit more comfortable in those deeper positions, because obviously your hips are going to be vital to you getting into those end ranges. So yeah, that's something that I prioritize, but it's definitely not something that everyone has to prioritize, and it will look different depending on what your needs are. But just take the time to get yourself right physically and mentally. Some people don't need any warm up at all. fair play to those people, but I'm definitely at that age and have had enough injuries where I can't really do that. To be fair, none of them are gym related, but yeah, it's just one of those things. The next point is actually just stop skipping stuff. So something that I did early on in my training was I just never did abs. It was, don't get me wrong, I had all the explanations in the world for why I didn't need to do it, in terms of like, hey, I'm going to get enough ab work through bracing with things like squats, deadlifts, even pressing, rows. Like, I'm going to get enough ab activation. But if you really want to take your physique to that next level, there can't be anything that you just say, oh, I'm going to skip it. And that's something that I've definitely learned over this sort of last year period of actually training abs consistently, and they have without a doubt become one of my best body parts. And to that end, like even weak points. So we start this session off with hamstring curls. My hamstrings are a massive weak point. There's sort of two reasons for that. So I had ACL surgery 4 or 5 years ago now. Well, 4 and 5 years ago now. 5 and 6 years ago actually. And my hamstrings never really recovered properly up until sort of recently, where they've started to look a lot better and function a lot better. It was only possible by genuinely committing to focusing on them and growing them. So it was something that I thought was really important and is without a doubt an important thing. So learn to enjoy training your weaker points. People can get really excited about training, and they can get really excited about training the complex stuff. But if you have a seriously weak point, for you it might be you have a really weak squat. So you have to learn to love to squat in order for that to improve. And that's something that I've definitely learned to do with specific body parts, hamstrings mainly. I'm really prioritising them as not being weaknesses, but actually things that I can chase after and enjoy the process of getting better at them. Fundamentally, not everything is going to be fun, and you've got to learn to enjoy those things that are not fun and embrace those within the process of seeing improvement and getting better. So yeah, that's something. Progress isn't just seen in the things that you do, but also in the things that you don't do. Like say from a bodybuilding context, if I had just neglected calves for another 2 years and I step on stage, calves, hamstrings, it would be dead obvious that I've neglected them. But the rest of my physique could be top notch. So, next point, this is possibly the most important point. So, it's sort of a double header. Progression is the most important thing within the gym. Like, in my eyes, progression is everything. I'm obsessed about trying to progress my lifts and trying to take the little wins. So whether that's a micro progression, I did a 1.25 on the single arm lat pull down, or whether it's trying to add a rep on any movement, even half a rep at this point in prep, I think is pretty good. So yeah, be obsessed about progression, and then to that end, track your lifts religiously. Something that I didn't do at the start of my training was actually just note down what I was doing. I use just a pen and paper now so that I'm not on my phone too much, but you can use your notes app. You can even do it through things like, if you film your lifts, like you can see what you hit, how it moves, like how you can progress that stuff. So actually, to that end, I think filming your lifts is a massive thing. It's something that I've done a long time, way before I ever started posting anything. I want to say I've been doing it sort of since COVID, because there was no sort of animosity towards people filming because you were by yourself. So that was something that I definitely took well, and I enjoyed that, was being able to film and watch it back, see how my body's moving, what my form actually looks like, and how hard am I working. So that's something that I think people can sometimes misunderstand, is, oh, that felt really heavy, and that's probably my final rep. And then if you were to film it, you'd realise, okay, that's just where the set's getting started, type thing. Like, you're more capable than you think when it comes to training. I hope that the rain doesn't ruin this. Feels like it is going to ruin it, because this has just been a bit of a disaster, to be honest. Because I filmed this on Monday, for my Monday leg and pull, and now it's Saturday. I've been putting off filming this bit. Don't know why, just have. I mean, people are so quick to overcomplicate everything. I think Branch Warren says it best. He says, bodybuilding is getting as much blood in the muscle, working it to failure, resting, and then doing it again. That's all it is. No need to overcomplicate it in terms of getting specific angles of a pull, or like really focusing on specific leverages. It's, can I connect with my muscle, and can I take the set to failure? So even something as simple as like a row, can I connect with the part of my back that I want to connect with? Yes. First checkbox. Am I progressing from last week? Check my logbook. Yes. There you go. It's that simple. There is some nuance to it in terms of like where you are in terms of food, training, nutrition, and recovery capability. So like for me in a prep, my progression is not going to be as big as it is in an off season when I've got loads of food, but I'm still striving for that stuff. And I think that the mindset's the most important thing, and you really have to want it. You really have to go in and want progression. So yeah, that's definitely something to note. An extension of overcomplicating everything. Like the basics are the best. Fundamental movements that translate really well, and they're taken to as far as possible. And even on some sets, complete failure. I mean, the RDL set, there's no way I'm going to get another one like that. That's as brutal a final rep as I've felt in a while. So yeah, that's something. Just continue to focus on progressing those stuff. As long as your reps are fairly standardized, and that means like, tempos are very similar, ranges of motion are very similar, loadings very similar, even the setup of machines is consistent. Like, you will see consistent progress if you're recovering effectively in terms of nutrition and sleep, and then also if your programming is effective. Because if you're doing way too much, like I said at the start, if you're doing way too much volume, you're not going to be able to recover from that and see greater progress, really. With that leg press set, it's sort of a reminder of not everything is going to be perfect. Like, you're going to fail reps, you're going to fail sets. There'll be times where you genuinely won't progress. Like, there'll be specific sets within a week. It's very rare that you're going to have a perfect week of training in terms of progress across the board. So don't let the individual sets define your sessions or anything, really. So yeah, this session has been very consistent for the last year. That's something that I did not plan effectively in sort of my own training and my own programming. I used to believe that every 6 to 8 weeks you had to change stuff up. You couldn't have an RDL in for a year. You'd have to switch it up for something similar, like a deadlift or a stiff leg deadlift, and that massively hindered my progression. I wasn't able to really run movements up in the same way that I have been able to now. So I started with Finn. We were kind of like a 170 RDL for probably sets of 6, and now we're at 190 for sets of 8 at 10 kilos less. So it's one of those things that you really have to embrace the monotony of it. Like, training, like, it's exciting, but it is the same stuff done over and over again for a very long period of time, and that's where you actually see progress. So don't get too impatient. Bodybuilding, training, physique development is all about patience, and especially if you want to make consistent progress. It's one of those things, like, the extremes are never really ideal. Like, of course, the cycle of sort of bulking and cutting works perfectly, but it's over the long period of time that you see progress. Like, in each bulk, you might see 5 to 10 kilos of weight gain, but 1 to 2 kilos of actual muscle mass gain, if you're lucky. So don't rush into it, especially on the natural side of it. I mean, in the enhanced realm is different, and but even then, those guys, if they want to get the best results, they still do the same stuff consistently. So yeah, that's something that you have to be looking within your programming. Within my training, there's something every day that I go in a little bit anxious about, and I think that that's a positive thing. And if you go into the gym thinking it's all going to be beautiful and it's all going to be so easy, you really need to reconsider your programming, exercise selection, how hard you're working, because there has to be certain movements where you genuinely go in and you're like, what am I doing? In terms of either pain threshold or just the fear of not progressing on it. So for me, within this session, the RDL was massive. Like I go in sort of thinking about that days in advance. I'm like, what can I do? What do I want to achieve? If I don't hit 180 for at least 10, like this is awful. This is really bad. Or even like there is an injury risk to it. I mean, there's an injury risk to everything, but especially the more complex movements. So you have to be willing to take those risks, and that's part of it. So I think that if you don't have something that you're a little bit scared about doing, then you really need to reconsider what you are doing and how hard you're training. So yeah, the final point is just don't be afraid to fail. The gym is the only place that you're genuinely encouraged to go in, fail, drop the bar, drop the weight, pick it up again and go again. Um, and it takes a lot of time to get comfortable with the idea of, hey, you're allowed to fail. Go out and fail. Go try this weight, and try and take yourself to that point of my muscles can't flip and do anymore. And then you'll come back in the next week or the next session and be able to push through even further because you took the set all the way there. You recovered and you came back and you've done it. And that's all muscle growth is. So yeah, that's all that training really takes. Final Another thing about specific to leg training is matching the quality with the intensity. So I used to train legs really hard, like really hard, but I did not really feel my quads at all. So systemically I was absolutely exhausted, but in terms of actually muscularly I wasn't really getting much stimulus and my quads weren't growing. So I was putting a lot of effort in and not getting a lot of reward. That comes down to actually connecting with the desired muscle group, working within effective ranges of motion, and actually focusing on trying to get the most out of my quads rather than just trying to lift as much weight as possible. And that's something that really shifted for me, is just you can work as hard as you can, like go out and work as hard as you can, but know why you're working, know what you're trying to hit, what you're trying to do, why this is important, and yeah, matching your desire with your efforts is essential. So yeah, that's something that I definitely have sort of had to learn again, because I've always gone into the gym and wanted to train hard. I don't think I don't think anyone that's considering bodybuilding has ever gone in and not thought, okay, I want to be the hardest worker here. Um, but I used to work very hard and not get a lot from it because I wasn't working smart, if you excuse the cliche. So it's a process. Like everything that I've just shared with you is stuff that I've learned sort of over the past 4 or 5 years. And sure, people can tell you what effective training is, and you can listen to what I've said and you can sort of take it on board, but I think you only really learn it through doing yourself. So like I didn't think I wasn't training effectively. I didn't think I was doing anything necessarily wrong. Don't get me wrong. I think I was having way too much fun with it in terms of I just love training, so I do as much training as possible and not see a lot of reward from it. But actually scaling back has meant that my progression is much greater. So yeah, try and match what you're doing with what you like, and then yeah, you'll see some progression. I'm sure of that. But it all comes down to effective programming, effective recovery, and enjoying the process of learning all of this stuff. The only one that I genuinely wish that I had done as soon as I started lifting was tracking my lifts, because it makes it so much easier to go in and know that, okay, this is what I have to do for progression. Whereas I spent 2 years sort of just going in every week and sort of being like, okay, I can hit this, I can do that, and not really seeing actually any progress on the bar, or progress in terms of muscle mass. So yeah, that's the biggest shift, and without a doubt the most important thing, I think. Because if you're tracking and you're obsessed about getting better, you will get better. Like, that's it. So yeah, I hope this was helpful to you. It was nice to sort of just get this out. I hope the rain didn't bother the microphone too much. But yeah, happy days. I really enjoyed sort of sitting down and talking through this in this sort of way. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you let me know down below. If there's anything else you want me to cover, then of course let me know. And yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Cheers, guys. Have a good day now.